happy to have all of you today connected with us. Just introduce myself quickly. I'm Maureen from the community team, global community builder for AI experts. So my role is totally to support you during your journey on Malt concerning AI topics. So providing content about articles, AI Malt Academy that we have today. Also a Freelancers Go AI Talent Award that we are organizing this year at the beginning of the year, the Malt AI Night. We organize also in May. And if you don't have the possibility, you didn't have the possibility to attend this Malt AI Night, you will have a roadshow at the beginning of the September in each country where Malt is set up. So you will have the possibility to attend this Malt AI Night also. So yeah, provide you a lot of content about AI. And yeah, especially during that night, the Malt AI Night, one major trend that came up in every discussion, it was clearly that clients are moving away from the simple chatbots. We all know that. And we are now searching for experts who are mastering governance, safety also, and quickly deployment. We saw that also in our Maltech trend with 380% of clients asking for more governance and security system, and especially with the tools. So it is totally for that Marcelo is here today for Claude Code to provide some value that you cannot find on the internet and LinkedIn. Also, we have a lot of noise around AI. So yeah, Marcelo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. I'm really happy to be here and to have been invited to do this short presentation. It sounds a long time, 1 hour, but actually for the topic is just, let's see, it's scratching the surface. I have to assume, of course, several things for this kind of presentation. So it's difficult to find the right level for people that are very advanced or for others that are just beginning. And so bear with me if it is too easy for some of you or sometimes difficult for some of one. Other than that, we try to answer, of course, some questions at the end of the session. But let's just dive into it, and then we'll see how it develops, okay? So first of all, I will share my screen. Please let me know if you can see the screen.
On my side, it's perfect.
All right, excellent. So let's go for it. So the title of the presentation is Stop Prompting, Start Governing. Why? Because the system as such, in that case, Claude Code or any other harness, let's say that enhance our productivity, efficiency, or effectiveness is the better wording. It is about putting the guardrails to behave like you wanted to do, especially, of course, in the context of business. So that's why we chose to put the stress on governing the system as such, because this is the main goal, so that the results are hopefully replicable and you get what you actually wanted to get out of the result. So this is divided in two parts, my presentation. The first part, it will go a little bit around the architecture of my system. In the second half, we will see how does it behave while creating an application, a specific application. Since we are in the football World Cup, so I decided to do something around that. So let's see, how do you think about that? So let's go. Who am I? I am working for almost over 20 years in the intersection of digital technology and business or business engineering. So what I wanted to present to you is rather a deep dive in AI, not just slides. And I've been working for big companies from consulting over manufacturers. And what I'm really, my goal as a professional was to find a tool that really helps me to using AI to get there. With so far, the previous tool hasn't didn't get me to that point where I wanted to go. So in that, I found in Claude Code already for like 8 or 9 months ago but really very deep. I've been working with it, a new system, or that system that you will see right now is around 6 months already. And that's just my daily assistant in such a way that I do almost everything with that. So it's like Maureen said before, it's wide far of what the chatbot can do, but rather it's even I would say it's a kind for me, from my personal opinions, is already into the direction of an AI operating system. So Maureen already mentioned that why is this important? Why is this important in the professional sector? Because the cost of developing software has decreased a lot with that. So in my vision, everyone with some training, of course, is able right now to create dedicated software or to digitalize process that previously wasn't done before. And also the talents, Malt, for example, for 42,000 freelancers are increasingly now doing AI projects. And coming, of course, the chatbots based on AI, on generative AI, is already an improvement than before, but it's just the beginning. And how can be that implemented and really improves in the day-to-day business, we will now see in the next slides. So why is actually building, or why it got cheaper than when you had to hire a software developer or a team, in that case, to develop any app or any other digital process that you want to have implemented? Because now you have a direct access to it, because the results are basically your own, but also the responsibility is your own, because you can customize and build in a few hours or in much fewer time than before, and also because you can decide exactly what your roadmaps look like. So what I'm saying, they already the planning is of course as important as any other project, perhaps even more important. And in that case, if you are working as a consultant, then you are the one that directs directly your so-called agents or the results that you achieve. So the responsibility goes back to you. This is very important to be aware about that. So, and then at the end, is then your asset. This is you owned it. You owned the results, but you own the responsibility as well. So what happened so far, or what is happening so far when you work with agent? So every tool started basically, or when you work with a generative AI, with a chat session, you explain, you do your things, you have a certain memory, so-called the context memory. Luckily, we have 1 million memory context windows right now with Claude Code, with Opus 4.8, 4.7, 4.6, and so on. And that's makes life a lot easier, but still at some time it is done, you are ready, and then you have to more or less start from zero. I know, of course, that CloudMD is the standard memory for a Claude Code project, but still you cannot have the view or the overview of all your projects at once, as you will have, let's say, in a team with people, or in a project setting where you have a dedicated space for putting all your experiences, your logs, and everything that has happened in this project. So that's the problem, basically, the main problem from my view that I tried to solve, and in my system, I did so that it works and I can work daily with that. So again, you explain everything, it helps you once, then the session ends and the memory is out. And this is only one part, that will be the memory part. Then you need, of course, rules. You need it to behave. Although this is a non-deterministic system, you want it to behave like a deterministic system. For that, you need rules. In Claude Code, there are several ways of doing that. One important way that I will use it here to demonstrate how it works are the so-called skills. So basically, more or less programmatically behaviors that you can teach Claude Code to do, so that the work is repeatable. In best of the cases, deterministic. Sometimes the model would go inside and change actually your rules, but this is another topic. Then for that, you need other mechanisms, that's the so-called hooks, which are really, they are the informants for me, is a way of translating this as the police for the system to behave like they should, like the system should behave. And over that, let's say you have to have a governance system that makes your system holistic in that sense. So recapping basically what we want to have in a system is that we want a governed agent that first of all recalls your decision on purpose so that it behaves like you want it to behave, that is bound by written rules that the system must know. And if there are cases where it forgets, then you enforce them with further mechanism. So we could basically stop there and say, okay, that's good enough. No, but it's not, because it's still the system will do lots of errors, and you can turn it around and make of the errors that happen during a session or during all your session. If they this error repeat over and over, then you will extract rules out of it and basically convert them into this part above. And also, besides the let's say the general memory about your project, you want also to have a logging mechanism so you can version your system as well. So all of them is part of your context or your contextual system. So why do I call this an operating system? Because this is my dream, actually, how operating systems nowadays should work. Maybe big companies that create operating system, I don't need to repeat the names, we will come up some days with that. But actually, professionals like me or like yourself, we need it now, because this work helps us to be more efficient or more effective with our work. And when you are talking about, I'm using deliberately the wording operating system, because when you are at that level, then you need to integrate it into the behavior of your tools, in that case, of your computer. I'm using Mac Studio with lots of memory, so I'm flexible from that perspective. But I need many rules. So Cloud Code, in a sense, from the standard how Anthropic shipped it, it has already some mechanism like the init.md is a special file basically where initialization parameters of your system can be loaded, and you can inject also rules in there, and you have further mechanism, I said before, like Cloud MD and so on and so forth. I don't want to repeat the basics, basically, that anyone can read on an internet page. Most important is how you develop your system. In that case, my system develops over time with rules. So it won't stay by 50 rules plus, and it will be probably in half a year or so, maybe 100 or 150. Right now, in half a year, like I said, I have already over 60 rules, and I have the enforcement mechanism, the so-called hooks. And then, most importantly, I have the so-called brain, which is a special kind of memory of the project that I have. And the other part that I said, excuse me, it is the skills, the repeatable workflows that I use in order to be more efficient in my work and my day-to-day work. So now it's going to be a little bit more technical. Like I said before, if you have questions about that, we can talk about that later. So how does my architecture from the bird perspective look like? So let's go in the clock direction, basically from the middle from the 1 to the 7. So in charge, of course, must be the user. This is for me the human, so-called human in the loop. It's not human in the loop, and for me, the human must be at the top of the system, because at the end you are responsible for what happens with whatever the results are of your system, what you produce. So But Cloud Code is actually let's say, the integrator of whatever you are trying to do. In that case, of course, specifically we're talking about Cloud Code, but it could be also Codex or any other of the big solutions that are out there right now. So, but that's, like I said, it's not enough. And you have to have mechanism, I call them the constitution, which is more or less the main part of the governance in combination with others. There we go. There we have the informants, I said before, the active hooks and other scripts that are also needed. And the interaction of these three already made, let's say, behave like AI operating systems, but it will be nothing without whatever happens during the last half year, or if you are working specifically in a topic, if you are a doctor, if you're a lawyer, where is your professional know-how saved, and how do you gather the information from there, and how do you improve it all the time? So the combination of all of this makes actually a personal AI operating system. Okay, so this is, like I said before, the Wirtz view about the systems, but there are, of course, different views. I'm going to go very quickly, show you show this so that you at least have the view of the slides. You can basically, when you work the recording, look in more with more time around this. In this view is almost the same components, architectural component that we had before, but it gives you the order who is basically in charge of the system. Like I've said before, also the operator, the user should be in system, so the highest the priority, then your constitution, your rules, your governance is the last. And at the end, this is not that memory is less important, but everything that happens here in this value chain, it basically it will land at that level. And if you look only at that and you are not curated over several levels, then you won't have basically a good baseline at the end, right? So, in many times, not only sometimes, many times, when you work, for example, in a topic for half a year ago, then this is in your memory, but this is not actual anymore. So you have to enhance that with live results. So you have to be able to fetch information from the internet and also update basically your memory, or you have a follow-up project, then you should be able to do the same thing. So that's the view here of how you create value, in which order you should do, or how you recommend it to do. And not only that, but also the order of how that would be the view of the workflow, what happens in a session, in a Cloud Code session in my system. I would start this with a CLI. So I use Cursor as an IDE to interact with Cloud Code. I could do it, of course, from the regular terminal, but this is so burdensome, and Cursor is my favorite so far. So I will invoke Cloud Code from the CLI from Cursor. Then my system will load and resolve some configurations that I need to have. Then all the capabilities that I have so far, so it will know about those capabilities, and so on and so forth. I won't go, like I said, one by one, since we will need much more time with that. At the end, what I want to say in any case is that I need, of course, when I close a session, I need to tell my system where and how to store what it has learned, or what errors did it make. And for that, I need special tools. And those tools, I call it, I implemented it in skills. We will, at the end in the demonstration, we will see how does it look like in real life. But this is then when my session will save it into the brain. And even if it forced me to compact the session, it isn't logged, because I have like a registry of the sessions, and I can go back with the mechanism of Cloud Code, of Anthropic. I can rewind basically my sessions. So if you don't know, the complete session is going to be stored on your system. So everything that you see on your screen or that you type, it is basically saved in a JSON file. as far as I remember, the rule is it will be kept for 30 days on your system, but you can extend it as long as you want. More, if you want indefinitely, you can do that. And this is basically the baseline where you can extract again the information that you might have not saved and save it into your system. So I think I have to move a little bit quicker here. So about the rules, I said already that rules uh, are there in order that the system behaves more or less deterministically, but you have to implement it in different ways. So one of the rules that I had to implement in my system is, for example, that this is not allowed to delete or change any file in my system. It needs a special permission, but it's always a problem, of course. If you are so strong, have so strong rules with your system, then you will have to give permission every time. So you have to find a balance basically between I am safe with my data, and other one I want not to be stopped every time being asked for permission. So all those people that talk that working with loops and leave the system and the agent do the things, I don't see that personally how it how can you be responsible doing with that, but I might also change my mind in the future. So far, my experience is that you have to be very focused with what you do. You have to be very aware about the permissions that you do, and if even if it's your personal assistant, of course you don't want that the system deletes the rules. And if it happens, then you have to be able to recall what was basically been deleted or changed in a way that you don't want it to do. So that's why I'm stressing right now so much the rules and the dependencies that it has with whatever results you want to achieve. So governance in that sense is not a one-stage process. It has not only several layers, but it's applicable in the creation of value that you have. So at the beginning, of course, start with say a couple of rules. Then when you are prompting, you need a mechanism to do that. In my case, it will be how do I recall information from the brain, or how do I research also information in a safe way. Other than that, every time that the system wants to use tools, because that's what makes Claude Code very powerful, is the breadth of tools that are available for the tool. And when you look at some news, you can basically install right now so many skills, but you also have to be aware that if you install skills, you have to know what you are installing and how it would behave in your system. So therefore, you need to have to be careful with that. And also something that I had to invent for my system was when Cloud Code does something for you, it basically sometimes, let's say, from the human perspective, it lies to you. It, of course, is the wrong wording, but it is, let's say, this is lazy. And although it hasn't read basically the information that you asked it to read, it will tell you, yes, it is like that. So it will basically generalize from the weights of the model and gives you very, very efficient an answer that it is not the correct one. So therefore, I had to implement a system where I force it to, to write a recipe. Yes, I did read that file, and then it comes back with the recipe. Otherwise, it won't go further. So I stop it basically there until I have this receipt. So, but then I am sure that it did what I wanted it to do. Okay. All right. So let's move on. So another way of showing you this is also when you define a rule, you have to understand what you are doing. And therefore, you need, like in any other system that you are developing, it hasn't had to be software development. You have to develop the dependency of the rule. This is, for example, a rule that I had to write in order that the Cloud Code won't install any software that it thinks it needs in order to help me with the request that I gave it. So it goes through this process. I don't go in the details as well, but it's just to show you that behind a rule, there is a mechanism a path how it should behave and what is allowed and what is not allowed. And this is basically the last more or less technical slide. What happens in the brain that operates at the center of my system. It is based on, let's say, two basic principles. This is, of course, more than that. It is a mechanism that after I have finished, let's say, a task, then I have the possibility of invoking a function or a skill called save, and it goes through a structured process. And this process gives me later then the possibility of recalling that information, right? I won't say more than that because I want to go quite quicker into the demo. So again, short recap, what are the main, let's say, blocks of the systems? Several functionalities for dealing with memory, several functionalities for taking rules and information, several others for producing the system, and some utility to deal with the system as well, all right? So at the end, my message is but that also you can learn from it. We will make lots of errors. We will see it in the demo a little bit as well. But you can convert those errors into your advantage and then try that it never happens again. Okay. So my system right now is almost 6 months old. It has like more than 1,700 brain pages or sessions, if you want. Those number of rules I already mentioned. And the hooks or the police is all the time getting stronger and stronger because I think we need it so far as long as the system, how the big companies chip their harnesses, we need those hooks really in lots of it. All right. So the other big message is, although you have to understand a lot what's happening with your own system and how Anthropic, in that case, ships the different version of Claude Code and of the LLM models, you have the possibility to compound all of these tools into your advantage, right? Already here, I want to show for those of you that are basically, let's say, starting with this, there are two main components here. Cloud Code is, let's say, like your editor for working with AI. Allow me that terminology. Of course, I know that's not correct, but just to make my point. Through this tool, in that case, Cloud Code, you will access lots of possibilities to do work, to do lots of things, and to make it work for you. Cloud Code is just like like an editor, but you need the thinking mechanism, which is the model. In my case, the demo that I did, I made it with Opus 4.6. I decided to not to do with 4.8 because 4.8 I think is too slow, and depending on the effort that you basically initialize with, it will be not even slow. It would derail basically trying to think about almost everything and not being results oriented. So that's why I did that. So again, two components: Cloud Code as your harness, your access to any tool that you want to have, and then your model that is this thinking capabilities, state of the art from, in that case, from Anthropic. Okay. So in the main goal, and this is the last slide I will show you here, is basically to work towards the right here. Coming from the chatbot, using it as a project companion, now having it like a governed agent that it does what it should do. And at the end, I hope in near future, we will have real operating system shipped with your computer where you won't need to do anything that I will show you or I will show you in the demo, but you will interact like most of the time I do right now. I don't type anymore. I just have a little functionality that I call in different language where it's not just voice to text that I do. There's a little bit more than that. But it helps me to be to not type necessarily everything. In that case, for the demo, I needed to type, of course, to make sure that all that I said will be in the recording. But just let me surprise you a little bit maybe with that, okay? So I will change now basically my presentation to the demo part. And what I want you to be clear is about what we are trying to generate, okay? So imagine you have the idea for some reason, right? It could be just a client, a friend of yours, or just for yourself. You want to have the most current information about the state of the quantum, but you don't want to go to any news site or any other page. You just wanted to have it. You type a word, let's say, and you have the results. So I call this utility that I've written today at 10:53. So it should be the latest result inside, and uh, it gives me, of course, the source. Where do I have the information from? It gives me the times of the matches, and it gives me the results of every leader in every group. Okay, it does a little bit more than that. It gives me, of course, into not only the overview of the matches that has happened, but also it gives me something in green. Oh, these matches I should be aware of. There's are today, and I don't want to miss any of them. Let's say this is my interest, and I want to have that. So it gives me the time, of course, so I can manage it with my schedule. Okay. So this is, let's say, the overall goal that we wanted to do right now in the demo, so that you know what we are working towards. So then, how do we start anyway? Right? So we saw a couple of slides, nice architecture and so on and so forth, but how does it work in real life? So it start, of course, this is my IDE, like I said, from Cursor. On the left, uh, there is like a directory of my files. Here is like the editor when I can see the files, and here is the terminal where I interact with Cloud Code. So in that case, I am basically invoking the model 4.6 in order to start a session, okay?
Marcelo, do you think it's possible to zoom a little bit your screen to see better?
Okay, I have
If it's
full,
possible.
of course, I try my best. I don't
Thank you,
know,
Marcelo.
like this?
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I try my best. Like I said, the idea is not, of course, not to read everything for you because it's lots and lots of text, but to get the general idea how what it happens here. Okay, so let me see if I still can scroll like I wanted to scroll. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm telling my system here to what is the goal? Okay. Hmm. I guess I have to move like this. Yeah. So I'm telling the goal. So you're my assistant to create a demo skill. I have, let's say, definition of what a project is, a so-called project requirement document structure, that it should use that. Then we should define the requirement for the skill. Then we have to plan it. And we have certain conventions, how I interact with the system and how it should behave, like this PCV, that like it is paraphrase, confirm, and wait. So anytime, this is basically a rule I can tell anyone already that is very, really useful to let the system repeat what it's intending to do. Otherwise, it goes in certain direction, and then you have to redo your work. So then the last point is it should do exactly, it should focus basically. You have to tell the system that every time because it tends to go in any direction it quotation mark it thinks it should go. For that, this is important to start like this. So in that case, it generated already, according to my PRD structure, it says I will write a project requirement document where it basically states what's the goal, then the README for any user that later wants to look into the system, what is it for and what's happened, and so on and so forth, okay? And in that case, it asked me, because my product PRD also requires that, to save basically the development in a Git. But in that case, I will tell it, no, you don't need that for now. So we will not need Git, but the name of the skill is going to be VM 2026. So that's how I will invoke the skill later on. And I also had prepared some requirements, what the skills should be, and this is what you see here, right? So it's a CLI tool that fetches FIFA World Cup 26 matches result and standings from a public football API. In that case, I thought I would find, let's say, a free API. At the end, I found out I couldn't find. I had to pay for it, but I didn't want. But I show you also how I solved it. So basically, here, what I'm saying, this is your goal, your main goal. This is your guide rails for our development. This is how you should behave. And now I tell him again and paraphrase what you just said, and that is what it should do. So now it is paraphrasing. You know why it's important to do that? Because now you are quite sure what the system is going to go for. Okay. So it will paraphrase, it will confirm, and it also tell paraphrasing what I asked it to do, how the skill is going to be called to invoke it later. So now I am using a very important mechanism of Claude Code, which is the plan mode. I'm telling it now that you have the basic understanding. I will switch you to plan mode so that you write for me a complete plan of it. So in somewhere here is it telling me, okay, I have enough context now of what I should do, and I should write the plan for you. And it has a special folder also with some interesting names that it chooses for the plan name, but it's another story. This is an Anthropic story why they choose to do that. So here is asking me, how should we go about the data source? This is, of course, a very important part that in a normal project, I won't do it like that. One of my first steps in a project would be I go and research what are valid sources, sustainable sources, and so on and so forth. But in that case, this is a fun demo. I said, I don't care that much where you are getting that from, as long as we deliver a quick demo, all right? But like I said before, I changed that as well, but it is easy once you have the first version, let's say, of the demo. So here you go. Then now it has written the plan. This is, let's say, a proper plan that is in this file that I said before that I can review anytime. And by the way, this is also a very important message for some of you. It is quite interesting that you can use another session of Claude Code in order to make a plan review. So, and sometimes the other session catches errors that the session that actually is in charge of the plan, it won't do. That's an interesting mechanism that I found out that can be used in order to have a higher quality and less errors or less repetitions or some things that you don't want to happen. So here is the plan. Here is the, let's say, exactly the files that is going to create, the design that is going to implement, the data sources, which is part of the project. Okay, that's good enough, all right? Let's say I could have said, okay, it's implemented, but it's not good enough because it is, for me, not structured enough. So therefore, I asked it later to, where is it? Exactly. I asked it to do a phase approach of the plan. So I said, that's good that you come down to do it, but I want it in phases. So why that? Because it's better to control your interim results while you are developing. And this is, of course, a very easy application, right? But already here, you might think, oh, this is already too much text. I need to understand what's happening. Therefore, to cut it in pieces, actually the right approach. And the system needs to know in which parts it has to cut it, basically, so that can you review it, right? So now in this case, it starts implemented, okay? But the first thing that it does, it creates, again, this special document, PRD, specific for my project that I can review later on. It creates other files that my structure needs, like for any user that want to see what happened, what is in there in this product, it generates a README with the more current results, change in the project, progress files, and so on and so forth. So, okay, so go back here. Okay, I have to go back to that view. So this is what happened so far. It created basically a directory where this skill will live. It created several files. This is the plan that it wrote, that it can be reviewed anytime, basically a complete and current documentation of what happened. I didn't write anything of this because it knows which structure has to do, and because it basically structured the information that in the interaction in the chat, everything should be there. So basically, my responsibility is to make sure that everything that is there is accurate enough to achieve my goals, okay? So as you see in the progress file, is not much at this stage, but later on, of course, every change it will be logged in there. That's why it's important, that particular file as well. So now we are more or less on the third phase, let's say. Here is how my so-called PRD looks like. Here is the goal. What scope does it have? What is out of scope? Like defining basically any project. And this is also the baseline for Claude Code to build that skill on there, or to make improvement later on. So what I should go forward, right? Yeah. So third step of the project was to find the source. Like I said, I started with some source at the beginning. Later on, I changed that. But the mechanism is in principle the same. So it goes and search for me a valid source for populating my local web page. It will find some of them. It will give me some options. The requirements was that it should be free, it should be current, it should be easy to update. Okay, so that was it. So, and now you start to see some red text here, which means it's trying to do something that it's not allowed to do. So, and then like you can read here, a hook mechanism has blocked it. So, for example, one of my rules, it is not allowed to rename or rewrite just files, because I cannot control it what files it basically is doing. So for that rule, for that sense, every new file that it writes, it should have a timestamp with the date and with the time. And when sometimes forgets it, actually almost in every session, for some reason it forgets it, but the hook catches it and make it behave in the current way. So, and some other errors as well. Now it has found basically valid sources for generating the page, and it is putting that in my documentation in the so-called source learnings file, like you see here with the date and with the time, with the timestamp, so that every time I can go back and there, okay, which sources did it take? Do I want to change that? Yeah, maybe, but I know exactly what is the source that is using, okay? So stage 4, yes, happened some errors again. I don't want to go into detail here. It tried to do again something that it was not allowed to do. But now it giving me feedback. It found information. It have a number of matches, the groups, and so on. and now he is basically implementing it already, right? And in that case, it already showed me the first iteration of the development. It opened for me the website. That's what you will see next. Here we go. So already, let's say in like 20 minutes, of course, it had some preparation, like writing the requirements for the generation of the document. It was able to generate this beautiful overview of what's happening in the World Cup, and it gives me the starting point for me to generate the next iterations. Okay, and they do the first enhancement. For example, of course, I want to have the source where the data is coming from here, and I want also to have a timestamp here so that I know how old or how fresh is the data. This is what I'm telling you and telling a Cloud Code to do here. So, and it does it. So it has basically two sources for this table. It takes the flags from one specific source, and it takes the soccer game result from another source. So now it is asking me, okay, I am almost ready. How should I do with that? And it has to register this utility in my system, and for that, it needs also special permission to do that, so that every time I can invoke that application. Okay. So basically, with that, we are ready from the perspective of the skill development. But of course, we are not ready in the sense of a project. We have to update our documentation. Whatever changes we did, the updates, for example, from the sources and data has to be written in there. And that's what it's doing here. It's updating the README. It's updating, it's giving me a summary of what it has done so far. It wrote the Python script to generate at any time, introducing the skill, how it should invoke it, and where is it putting the results, basically. With that, I can have, if I wanted, I can have a result of every day, let's say, in an HTML document on my system. And this could be, of course, anything that you can imagine that you can do with data. Okay? So now I'm testing the skill here in the recording, but we will do in a second also live. Yes, it is registered. It works. And this is basically it with reference to the skill. But let me tell you basically a little bit more about the most interesting topic and why you are listening to me in that sense, okay? So now we have...
Marcelo, just to give you an idea, we have 10 minutes before the end of the webinar.
Yeah, I go in 2 minutes, I should be done with this. I want to show our participant the following. So here is the mechanism that I told you before, one of the most important mechanisms. Now I am telling in this session to save everything what we learn so that it goes into my brain. And the process that I have, it goes really deep into, let's say, several layers, but it do like a 6-pass over the chat, current history, and it will save in a very structured manner. And this gives me later on to do a recall mechanism in order to see what has happened, or to know in 1 or 2 months or in 6 months what happened there, and that it learns basically for me and have some context for other things. Okay, this is what happened there. So it says here, I did all 6 calls, I succeeded. The safe report is done there. It was written into the brain, and then the last part is also basically showing you that it works. So I do the recall function with the session number, and it would give me basically a summary of what it has learned, which is somewhere there. Yeah, exactly. This is what basically now knows forever. and it will be always there in my system. It tells me I did the call recall development of the skill VM 2026, and it says me, it looks into the brain, which is implemented in Obsidian. This is what I know. This is the status. This was the timeline, and this is the files that I created, and so on and so forth. So, and I will leave it there for questions, or also for here is my live system, and I could basically do the recall function here, so that you see what would tell me what it learned during the development of the session. I did some tweaks with the skill, so it will probably give me more findings about it than it did before. So now it's working here. Let's read the brain. It found 130 matches already across 7 files. We are already on the version 0.9. Some key decisions were taken, and so on and so forth. You see it works. And if I call the skill now, which is how the way I basically use it, then it should open a new HTML page. And here we go. And that will be the latest version of the page, which should be 11:53 right now, which tells me we have just 7 minutes for questions. All
That's so
right.
cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcelo. That's so cool. We have question here for you. We have 5 minutes for the questions. So the first one, and thank you, it was super interesting. The first one, great talk. Claude Code is moving and updating fast and rolling out their own skills and optimize context management and rules. How hard is for you to keep up to date, like not having overlapping skills or conflicting rules? How efficient is the self-improving part of your workflow?
Yeah, is this quite difficult? I mean that's goes specifically for Anthropic and Cloud Code. Then imagine you have to keep up with codecs, at least which you must. I mean, you can call codecs from Cloud Code in order to do the review process, or vice versa. So it's difficult. It's very challenging, and you have sometimes to focus on something. But the most important thing is that you have, let's say, a safe governed system in order to keep producing, instead of trying to keep up with the latest development. But okay, let me put it that way. I didn't show you that, and probably we don't have time, but I tell you verbally right now. I don't use the latest version of Cloud Code, for example, because like in any software, the latest version has some bugs. So there is basically some information on Cloud Code that it tells you which is the latest stable version of Cloud Code, and that's what I use for developing my projects. Right? So that's the way I keep the balance. Use the latest stable of Cloud Code, keep informed what's happening, try it, but don't test the latest development in your production workflow. That will be my advice on it.
Yeah, I'm totally agree. We talk about that just the day before in our event, Fail and Learn. Yeah, it's important to master a version and keep up to date, but mastering a version. Okay, we have also another question from Mathieu. Does your setup consume, we'll talk about tokens, a lot of tokens, or is it in contrary an efficient way to use them? Here is was an example, but do you have an idea about the consume of a
Yeah.
lot? Token.
Actually, personally, I don't care about tokens. I decided to go for the max plan. And sometimes I went to the max, but most of the time I don't. So I'm trying to find out what is best for me. But if I was an enterprise and I had to advise the customer what to do, of course, I would take very much care about this. In that case, if tokens are you concerned, I would even go for a local model. Because you can work with Cloud Code also with a local model, not only from that perspective, but also from the privacy perspective. But if you are, let's say, developing as a consultant for yourself, I wouldn't worry that much about that. I mean, I don't know that $200 is money, But in order to keep up, like in the question before, you might have to invest at the end, right? And it should be enough for you personal, unless you are a software engineering company that you're really looking with lots of legacy software, and you need not even a so-called max plan. It wouldn't be enough, but you need to go through the API. Then you have to engineer, of course, your token consumption, that for sure. So it's not an easy answer, that one.
Mm.
But if you haven't tried the max plan, try it first, invest this couple of $100, and then find it yourself what is the best ratio that you need of consumption.
Yeah, thank you, Marcelo, for your
Yeah.
input.
But sorry, maybe
Yeah,
just a comment also for the context as such.
yeah,
Of course, you use Opus for 8, and when Fable comes back, it would use twice at 4 times the rate of tokens. Find also there a compromise. The more performance you need, the more you have to pay for it, or at least this is the business model of the company. It's another dimension of the same question. Yeah.
mm, yeah, totally. Another question from Ludovic. Are there some resources beside the Google Vibe mentioned in the comments showing to build this step and by step with Claude Code on your side?
I didn't understand the first part. Sorry.
Are there some resources besides the Google Vibe mentioned in the comments showing to build this step by step with Claude Code?
Are
Other
we talking?
resources, some resources to showing the step by step. Yeah, maybe.
Are we talking about byte coding? Do you understand that right?
Google Vibe, yeah, maybe. Yeah. Mm-mm.
Yeah. I mean,
Ludovic,
if,
if you want to deep dive your question in the chat, feel free also.
yeah. But if it's about vibe coding, I mean, what we just saw is actually vibe coding as well, in some part at least. But vibe coding is not enough for several reasons. You can't vibe code anything, and then if the results is not so important, of course, it doesn't matter. But actually, the hard part of the work is doing the preparation first. What are the requirements that you need to fulfill? And the PRD that I spoke a couple of times, this is for me the central document for starting any project. That's why I implemented that in such a way. When I tell Cloud Code, write a PRD for this project, it generates the documentation structure, and it put in a description what the goal is. And if this is by coding, then it is by coding. But this is the baseline later on until on for Cloud Code to tell what it must do and what it must not do. So the
Mm,
scope basically that any project manager would write in a classical project setting. Okay, I hope
okay.
this is good enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we will take one last question because it's already midday. From Larissa, I have intuition that with all this self-improving system, you have to consequently check if you are agree with some learning and check that some nonsense didn't bake into your knowledge base. It's hard to trust the system without constantly checking, reading, checking whatever it's save something important, not just some general information. So the
Yeah.
question is, what is your experience on that?
Very, very wide, actually. You remember in my presentation, I mentioned something. I need a receipt from the system that it really went and read the sources that I told it to read. This is a mechanism that I use in order to catch the, let's say, error sources for later, because it will hallucinate something just to give me an answer. But if I don't force it, it never will tell me, yes, I read the full document that it told me to read. Let's say when it is about 10 pages, 20 pages, or 50 pages, it would skim the document, the first 2 pages, and then would basically come up with an answer without having read it. If I have a mechanism that is forced to read the whole document until the last word basically of the document, and only then it will write basically, I put a stamp in there, yes, I read it, then I am quite more secure that the answer that it's giving me is based on that document. Other than that, I wouldn't know. So that's the way I have to do. Why Anthrop or any company, let's say, don't do it by default, I don't know. But if I would, if I was a system engineer with working for them, this is one of the first things I would do because it has to be reliable. Because it is much better not only for you but for enterprises to have, let's say, results that are more accurate. So that will be my answer.
Yes, totally agree. Okay, thank you, everyone. I think we can wrap up. Thank you, Marcelo. It was so interesting. Thank you for all the learning. If you have questions for Marcelo, just put his LinkedIn in the chat so you can connect. And if you have any questions for Malt on your profiles, on the market, concerning AI, etc., please you can contact our support, our customer team. So it's support@malt.com. They are totally here for you, and I'm also here if you have any questions. So yeah, thank you. Thank you, Marcelo, for your time. And yes, see you in another AI Malt Academy. Have a good day, everyone.